Okay, guys, we're about to do another fantastic show, but before we do that, please go to YouTube, like, subscribe, share.
All right, what's up, folks? It's the Great Black Podcast, and you're here with yours truly, Mr. Breaks, and the man right here, Dr. Amsu. Man, we got a lot to talk about. Listen, welcome. First things first, bit of admin. Listen, guys, YouTube channel, Great Black Podcast. We need you guys to like, subscribe, and share. We need this thing to go viral. It's a two-way thing. You know what I mean? You like us, show us love, and we show you love. That's how we get these programs to keep going on. So once again, Gail, welcome to the Great Black Podcast. Dr. Amsu, what's good, son?
What's good is the biggest distraction that's going on in the world, or in this country anyway.
Right.
Cancel culture. Cancel culture strikes again.
Indeed.
Strikes again. And it's actually going for the big wig, the biggest wig of all, the biggest head of all, Joe Rogan. I'm a great fan of Joe Rogan. I've been watching his podcast now for a few years. You know, I was not aware of the phenomenon until, you know, a few of our marketing people said, you guys need to check out Joe Rogan.
Mr. Rogan.
You know, I know he was the presenter of Fear Factor. He's a mixed martial artist, so I like that he's into martial arts and that. He's a comedian. So comedians, as we know, they get a pass on certain things.
Comedic license.
You know, they got a comedic license. They're allowed to say shit that we wouldn't normally be able to get away with, right? Normal, your normal, you know, average Joe and funny
Average Joe, no
average
pun
Joe,
intended,
not the
right?
Joe Rogan, right? But comedians get a license. They get, you know, a pass to be able to give opinions on certain things and even to say some things that would be, you know, otherwise taboo.
Deemed inappropriate.
Right, deemed inappropriate, whatever, right? Not non-PC, right? And his podcast has come under ill repute by mainstream media, and I think the reason why he's being targeted as well is because he's so popular. He's got over 15 million subscribers. Each one of his shows gets, you know, on average like 10 million views, whether it's live or pre-recorded and edited or whatever. He has a podcast with Spotify, right? And in recent times, in the last few weeks, he's had he had a couple of guests on his show that he's been interviewing, right? And one has been Dr. Robert Malone, who was one of the inventors of the mRNA technology, right? For mRNA vaccines and whatnot. And he has a very strong opinion on what's going on with this whole pandemic.
Right.
From the vaccines to the censorship to the mask wearing and people against people, the vaxxed against unvaxxed and whatever. And he termed it mass formation psychosis, right? Which has become, you know, like this new term
to describe
right? That's everywhere, right? But he's coined this term, and maybe he didn't even coin it, but he brought it to everyone's attention that you've all been bamboozled. You know, there's a behavior from the scare tactics being used and whatever on the public, and he spoke about how unsafe the vaccine is, right? And certain other things. Then Joe Rogan then had another guest, Dr. Jordan Peterson, who also expressed his disdain for how things have been handled by government, by big tech, you know, how they're taking advantage of people, that they've grabbed a lot of power. There's been a transfer of wealth and all kinds of stuff, and they're not going to give it back. You know, once government gets power, they're not going to hand it back kind of situation. And Joe Rogan's show came under attack because of the opinions of his guests, saying that they're spreading misinformation and disinformation.
That old chestnut.
Right? And basically it trickled to celebrities. Mm-hmm. Now, the first celebrity to come out was Neil Young. He's an old rocker, right? A guy who may have had a few hits in the past and whatever, but an older guy that none of the young generation know about, you know? So he's not very relevant.
Not as relevant as he was.
He ain't as relevant
in the 80s.
Right. Or the 70s, probably the 70s, right? And he basically threatened Spotify and even made action that, look, if you do not cancel Joe Rogan, I'm leaving. I'm taking all my whole catalog off your platform, right? And Spotify was like, all right,
Well, which he can, if that's what
do what you want to do. Do what you got to do.
Jog on.
And then certain other artists, one of them being India Ari, and I don't know what that's all about, right? She too said the same thing. There's a group of like 267 or 276, one of the two, doctors also wrote in saying misinformation, giving the public a false sense of how good the vaccine really is, right? Condemning the vaccine or whatever.
Okay, I'll let you go
right?
ahead. Yeah.
And cancel him. His podcast should be taken off Spotify or whatever. Spotify have not taken him off. And Joe Rogan basically said, you know what, look, if I've had guests that have been one-sided on my show, I'll try to do better. I will do better. If I have something that's controversial, I'll have a guest on the next day who is, if I have an anti-whatever on my show, I'll have a pro person on the next day so that we have some kind of parity, right? And...
Which isn't what mainstream media is doing, by the way.
Right.
Just to be fair, because technically he didn't have to do that. I know
right.
he finished, but
and he basically it was an apology that, look, if I've offended anybody, I apologize, and I will try to do better. If I'm being deemed as one-sided, bias, I'll try to get more balanced, right? And so it was left at that. But obviously, mainstream media don't like it. Big tech, big pharma don't like it and whatever. So just over the last 48 hours, there's been a video released of Joe Rogan over the 12 years of his podcast, right? However long it is, somebody's gonna fact check me on that probably, right? That his use of the word nigger, right? Now, totally out of context, right? But they did a whole collage of him saying nigger. Nigger, right?
So check this out.
The nigger thing.
Yeah, saying the word nigger.
You've already said nigger.
D is just like nigger. Saying nigger.
She's calling you a nigger. It's like this boy that he's a nigger, but starts calling them niggers.
Word nigger. There should be a word like nigger, especially like the word nigger. That's our nigger.
About niggers.
He says nigger. Guy, a nigger. And there are niggers. Start saying nigger. Allowed to use the word nigger. Out the word nigger. See nigger. Word nigger. Say nigger, and he couldn't say nigger. And most nigger.
And they've done so to rally up the anti-racism brigade to he's got to go. Well, that's it now. We were on your side, but now we can't defend you anymore because you're racist. You blatantly said nigger. Now, his show has gained popularity despite his use of nigger. And we're black, so we can say nigger. We don't say N-word, right?
We can.
But he didn't use the term N-word. He actually used the term nigger. But it was out of context because he wasn't just saying, look at them niggers.
You're saying the video was out of context. The collage was out of context. It was
way out of
compiling-
context. Right? That his shows were actually about the use of the term nigger, how it's been used by different people in entertainment,
Right.
different people in music industry, or even politicians or whatever, how it's been weaponized to take people down, and certain people get away with it.
He's just become an example of that, right?
And he's just become that same example.
Now, Dr. Amsi, before people go flying off the rails, maybe accusing you, me, us, the channel, whatever, being pro Joe Rogan. It's not even about necessarily Joe Rogan necessarily,
Joe Rogan,
right?
Right.
And obviously we're not condoning, personally, if I can say it, I don't really condone the use of, the N-word, white people go around and say nigger, because whenever they get an opportunity, it's like a holiday, right? And typically it's almost never in context, unless it's in an educational context. I'll understand that, because what we're in danger of actually is, I think, over sanitizing the population from understanding those things. And so they, in fact, they don't even recognize them when they do occur in the context that, you know, a racist context.
Right.
So I'm not speaking, again, for or against necessarily Joe Rogan, but I'm just more concerned about society at large when we oversensitize. This cancel culture thing is become, you know, overbearing in itself, right? And from what I understand, what I feel, it's led mostly by sort of left-wing groups, left-wing special interests, and they use, you know, they race bait, right? So they use race and gender politics to assert their wishes, right, through this cancel culture thing. So someone does something bad, right? And we all recognize, you know, they shouldn't have done that, whether they apologize or not, you know, whether the platform in which their show, whatever service they have should be lifted, that can come down to the people who own that platform. But we as a society now just jump to, right, someone says something we don't like, did something we don't like, let's cancel them. There's no room for apology, right? This is on both sides now, right? There's no room for apology. What that's doing to society at large is over-sanitizing it, making it too PC. So now no one's going to talk the real talk, because you can't talk the real talk. If you say what's real, that means you're anti. That means we need to cancel. You're anti-gay. You're anti-black. And this is me from a black man, right? And sometimes, you know, I hear some of these racial debates about, you know, such and such is racist, we should cancel them. And I look at the material and I think, well, you know, I'm really not that offended by it. In fact, I don't watch that show. I'm going to keep it moving. But you want to rile me up, right, to join your protest, to, you know, get this person ousted. But the thing is, once that's done, the right to do that, that mechanism will now be used against me at some point in the future. So more often than not, it's not necessarily about the person and what was said. It's about the fact that we've got to be careful.
Right.
You give these rights away. You let trial by public opinion take you know, set, right? That, listen, we're all in danger, right?
Now, so, this is the thing. We listen to hip hop. We love hip hop, right? We're hip hoppers, right? We've grown up on hip hop. And I know I prefer the explicit versions of songs to the clean version. When I'm ready to listen to it. I might be like, you know what? If my children, when they were young, when they were listening to it, all right, if there's a radio version, a clean version, I prefer them to hear that so that they don't repeat that kind of language or whatever. But I want to hear, I want to hear the flim, flam, filth, right? As they say.
Because you're a grown-ass man, right?
Right? You know, I come from the hip-hop culture, be it whether it was American or the Jamaican, right? Ragga, dancehall and whatever, where it was bare slackness, right? Even today, slackness is on there, but people, I hear like the most upright people say, man, I want to hear something ratchet. I need to hear ratchet.
Listen,
right?
Look.
They need to hear ratchet. Now, imagine now, you're going to cancel Joe Rogan for his use of the word nigger. How many songs on Spotify, on Pandora, on YouTube, and whatever have the term nigger, bitch, hoe, faggot, this, that, the other?
In the title.
Artists
right?
with
the name.
In lyrics, right? In lyrics. On now, somebody's going to now say, right, all of those have to be removed. And anybody making a record now cannot use these terms.
Or we'll cancel the label.
Or we'll, right.
Now you see, now you're going where I'm going, right? So again, it's not about inappropriate use of it. Inappropriate use is inappropriate use. If someone's trying to offend, they're going to offend. And guess what? You have the choice to listen to that person's material, read their books, their magazines, watch their movies. It's your choice. If I'm not mistaken, Joe Rogan's show isn't on a national platform. It's not on ABC, right? It's not on PBS. He's on private.
He's built it. He built it with his own.
No,
right.
What I'm saying is it's not on broadcast network.
Right,
it's not like, you know, it's not taxpayers' money's not going to the show, right? You know, and so, you know, we have the choice.
It's independent.
Look, what we're doing right now, some people are going to be offended just by the title of this, the Great Black Podcast. Oh my God, race bait. You know, we have that from the Great Black Detox. People jump on it without even realizing what it is, what's about. They just hear the title and they want to, you know, throw the arms up in the air and say, well, these people are racist. They don't understand the racial context. And this is what I'm saying. We may lose the racial context in our society if we cancel everything. We can no longer have the talk. I'm going to jump something real quick. So you and I were talking earlier on, and for those that are fans of Quentin Tarantino, the debate came up about Django and the use of the word nigger in Django. Right, the thing there was how many times it was said, right?
How many times in all Tarantino's movies, do you hear nigger?
She benefactor.
Come on up.
What? What are you talking about?
Like the first movie of Tarantino's that I watched was Reservoir Dogs, and I loved the movie.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah. So
I've loved every Tarantino movies, all of his movies since.
Yeah.
I think the guy's a genius.
Now, here's what's weird about Tarantino thing is people, I believe, and listen, you guys, make sure you leave comments and let us know what you think. Share that. Look, you share links to your stuff. We don't mind. We'll watch it as much as we have time. These are opinions. You know, you guys can give us the facts if we're wrong. But I think the main thing about Tarantino is because the director of the movie is white. And he's made quite a bit of money making movies where there is liberal use of the word nigger, right? Now, every story, if you dissect, within context, in reality, those characters, that's how those characters spoke.
Right.
Definitely the black characters. What was up in arms about some of the white characters, and if I'm not mistaken, it was either used pejoratively by white characters, unless in the movie Django, where, of course, the slave owners, the plantation owners, of course, they were niggers, right? How do you make that movie without saying all the niggers, A's, the E's, the R's, right? How do you make that movie?
But you
and
don't.
do we only allow black directors to make movies where the where the word niggers used in the movie?
Right.
I don't know where we have to draw the line to say, something should or shouldn't be allowed because the person who's writing it or who's producing it is.
But here's the thing: there's
Not black,
a clear difference between bigotry,
right,
and racism.
Okay.
Racism is where you can affect somebody's livelihood by racial bias.
Yes.
Right? Whereas bigotry, I said some shit. I said something, I made a remark. I behave in a certain way. That's bigotry, right? Where it may be derogatory.
Yep.
Right? Now, two people in an argument, they're going to say offensive things to each other.
Whatever they can to
may
hurt each other, right?
Get into fisticuffs. It may come into a all-out brawl where you ain't worried about, well, am I gonna punch this guy in the face or in the gut? There's, if I'm fighting you and there's rules, that's sport. But in a real life fight,
there's no sport.
There ain't no anything goes, man. I'm biting. You know what I'm saying? I'm using every tool I have to try to hurt you. Which is why, some people have knives, some people have guns. Like, I'm going to win. I'm going to go whatever it takes for me to win. But when there's rules and you ain't allowed to do this and that, now it becomes a sport, right? Now, in an argument, it's not a sport. If an argument is in sport, then it's called a debate with rules, right? So we can say derogatory things. So if I'm in an argument with a white person and he calls me nigger, I call him cracker, whatever, right? We're in a heated argument, and I understand he's trying to offend me, and I'm gonna try to offend him. If he uses a racial term for me, it's not any worse than me using a racial term for him. Now, and this is the thing: two humans arguing over something, and it gets out of hand. All is fair in love and war, yo. All is fair, right? So if I'm using bigotry against him and using bigotry against me, it's fair, right? So I know the NAACP is probably going to say, no, but they enslaved us and blah, 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 the history and all that. But I'm talking about, listen, right now, right? And I'm not saying racism does not exist, that slavery didn't exist, that there's been, white privilege and whatever, that white people have been able to get away with calling us stuff and the whole history behind it. I'm talking about two people right now in an argument, right? Mm-hmm. Are going to say some shit to each other to upset. Me and you might be in an argument,
yep.
Right? You're not gay, but I might call you a faggot.
Right.
But what's going to happen if it gets out? Oh, he's a homophobe.
Oh, bitch.
And this is the thing, is that the liberals, the lefties, they use race bait to pull in black people when they want black people.
Well,
want black people to side with them. But when against whites and anybody who are non-black, right? Anybody who's non-black, right, can be accused of racism. Anybody who's non-black. When they want to come after blacks to cancel blacks, they go after us by homophobia. Let's cancel, what happened to Kevin Hart, right? What Dave Chappelle has been going through. These are comedians, right, who have license in their profession to say whatever the hell they want to say.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's a context to what they're saying, right? But they've used LGBTQ to attack black people. So black people, when we want to rally you up, oh, he said nigger. They said nigger, they said black, they said coon, they said whatever. But when they're ready to turn on us, oh, you said faggot, you said dyke, you said such and such, right? And they're doing it so well to turn one against another.
Yeah. So
to cause divide. And I think black people just need to be aware of that and say, you know what, we ain't falling for that okie doke anymore.
There you go.
You know what I mean? I'm a fan of Joe Rogan. I support him fully. Even when he was talking about the use of the word nigger and he didn't say N-word, so what? It doesn't offend me. It might offend some other people, but guess what? In society, how much things can be deemed offensive?
Well, anything can be deemed offensive by someone. Remember, offense is something that's taken, unless someone's trying to be offensive. But even so, it's how
subjective.
You perceive it. It's subjective in many ways. So listen, guys, you're watching the Great Black Podcast. Dr. Amsu over here. You're truly Mr. Breaks. Listen, make sure you leave comments, subscribe, like, share to the YouTube channel. Hey, what's up? Look, you've just been watching the Great Black Podcast. If you like what you see and you want to see more, make sure you go to the YouTube channel and you like, subscribe, and share.
Share it.
So we can
Share
keep
the
doing
love.
this. It's a give and take thing.